Hello, welcome everyone to this session of the OpenNebulaConf about configuring your cloud infrastructure using Ansible. This session, I'm going to introduce, we have two speakers, Amaya Hill from Red Hat, where she's a principal solutions architect, and also Kim Henriksson, it's Edge Lab Wizard at AI Sweden. My name is Constantino Vázquez, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer of OpenNebula Systems. So welcome to both of the speakers, and thanks to all the attendees for being with us today. Remember that you can use the chat to ask any questions about the session. Okay, so let me start with explaining the benefits that, for me, Ansible brings to the table. It's an amazing open source tool for application deployment, configuration management, and also provisioning. One of the main benefits is that it's agentless. You need anything running on the target server to be able to configure it. It has support for multiple operating systems. That's also important. And it's amazingly fast compared with other solutions. Okay, it also has the benefit of being YAML-based, and it has a very healthy module collection. So you can automate different chores using already made modules. In terms of Ansible and OpenNebula, so you can say that Ansible has a very large capillarity in OpenNebula. You are able to configure the virtual infrastructure running on top of OpenNebula using the OpenNebula modules that you can find in the Galaxy collection of Ansible. And you're able to create different OpenNebula resources with it, like different virtual machines, images, and even manage objects like hypervisor hosts. Okay, we are working on a new OpenNebula playbook to be able to deploy OpenNebula itself using Ansible in different architectures: high availability, single front end, different storage and networking backends. And we are planning to publish that in the third quarter of 2023, so stay tuned for that. We are also using Ansible underneath to provide edge clusters on different cloud providers. Coupled with HashiCorp Terraform, we are able to request bare metal instances from these different cloud providers, and then using Ansible, they are automatically configured and enrolled to OpenNebula to be able to expand the capabilities of your private cloud using these public cloud providers' resources. Okay, without further ado, I'd like to give the floor to Amaya, who is going to introduce the exciting advancements of Ansible that are coming this year. So, Amaya, the floor is yours.
Hello, and thanks for joining me today on this Red Hat Automation Platform New Features Overview, where I will focus on what comes next in our Ansible Automation Platform. But it's important before that I highlight that Ansible Automation Platform 2 is a significant change over previous releases, being the most important, that now we have a platform which is aimed to scale and cover all challenges that you may face when putting in place enterprise automation. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Amaya Gill, and I'm an Associate Principal Specialist Solution Architect here at Red Hat. I started my career in Red Hat back in 2010, and since then I have been working in different positions across the company and the globe. I am now part of the Specialist Solution Architect team in EMEA, with a focus on automation and management, and I will be your host today. As the enterprise is maturing its automation adoption, it is moving towards right in this graphic. First, you start by creating your own playbooks. Then you adopt best practices, like organizing it all in roles. Then you realize you need a graphical tool that gives you enterprise features, such as RBAC. And then you also realize that you need other enterprise features like approvals that will allow you to work with different teams and profiles. And finally, you go into event-driven automation to perform tasks such as automated self-healing infrastructure. In the other side of the graphic, you can see how the effort for you and your team to adapt and mature automation decreases over time. So the more you are going deep into automation, the less effort it requires to you. Now, let's cover what's new on Ansible Automation Platform. This has been just announced a few weeks ago during our Red Hat Summit at Ansible Fest event in Boston. So the most exciting feature that we are introducing, at least from my point of view, is Ansible Lightspeed. Ansible Lightspeed with Watson, our code assistant, is a generative AI service for Ansible automation content creators. Our aim is to speed playbook development processes, which will make it easier for specialists to turn their domain expertise into clean and best practices and Ansible code. Lightspeed, after training, will present you with quality playbooks that will reduce your coding time dramatically. Unlike ChatGPT, which builds its large language models on essentially all publicly available data it could vacuum in, Red Hat large language models are curated and domain specific. This means we're told those LLMs are built on data that Red Hat knows is correct. When Lightspeed generates a particular Ansible playbook, a reusable, simple configuration management and multi-machine deployment system, it's based on tested high-quality data and code, not just something that you grab from someone on the internet. Red Hat is committed to ensuring that all content being used to train the Lightspeed model is covered by approved open source licenses. Upstream content contributors will also have a choice as to whether or not use their work to contribute for ongoing fine-tuning on the model. Ansible Lightspeed will always attempt to clearly reference the original sources of content for maximum transparency and trust. Ansible Lightspeed is consumed directly on the command line via the VS Code extension, and accepted code recommendations are implemented immediately on the spot. It is a true experience enhancement, not a disruptive, disparate tool that has to be incorporated into established workflows. So you can see here a little bit on how the how the flow when generating a playbook with Lightspeed is generated. First, you need to declare an Ansible file and the task description. After pressing enter, Ansible Lightspeed will suggest you content based on that name. Accepting or discarding it is as easy as press either tab or ESC. And after that, you simply have to modify the suggestion to your liking and to train the model. Now, let's cover some other very exciting feature that we have just announced, which is event-driven automation with Ansible. Event-driven Ansible is a new way to enhance and expand automation. It improves IT speed and agility while enabling consistency and resilience. With event-driven automation, we break free from the limitations of manual intervention and embrace a world where decisions are made autonomously based on real-time events. By leveraging numerous sources of events, we tap into a wealth of information that fuels automation engine. Whether it's system alerts, user requests, or external triggers, Ansible empowers us to proactively respond and take action. It works with event sources to determine whether it's a change that must be addressed. These sources of events are third-party monitoring and observability tools, or even custom-made ones. that tell you when a condition exists in your environment, and then it acts automatically using rules and make decisions based on those rules. It is a flexible way to implement event-driven automation scenarios because it automates within across multiple IT use cases. Event-driven automation doesn't stop at an isolated use case. It extends its reach across the entire IT landscape, seamlessly integrating within across multiple use cases. So the benefits are many. By automating decision-making, we reduce human error and ensure consistent, reliable source outcomes. We can harness the power of real-time events to drive out workflows, making our operations more efficient and responsive. As we achieve new milestones in efficiency, service delivery excellence, and cost savings, we unlock the full potential of our organization and position ourselves at the forefront of innovation. For example, what if you no longer have to pause critical workflow work to manually add technical details to a service ticket, or address a user password reset requirement, or reset a route as a first troubleshooting step on a router? With event-driven Ansible, the friction in your day can be dramatically reduced, leaving more time to work on important projects with some added work-life balance. Event-driven connects sources of events with corresponding actions via rules. Ansible rulebooks define an event source and explain the action to take when the event occurs, in the form of conditional if this then that instructions. Based on rule review design, event-driven Ansible recognizes the specific event, matches it with an appropriate action, and automatically executes it. Actions can optionally include or exclude existing Ansible playbooks, templates, or modules to extend value from your trust's automation. So let's consider another example. Your observability tool, that is the event source, is watching network routers and discovers that a router is not responding, recognizing this as an event. Event-driven Ansible receives this event, finds the corresponding Ansible rulebook, and then matches the event with the desired action. This could be reapplying configuration, resetting the router, or creating a service ticket. Event-driven Ansible triggers the instructions in the rulebook, and the router is reset, restoring it to normal function. What's more, this can happen at any time, even at 2 a.m. while the network engineer is sleeping. Let's gonna cover now Ansible content management updates. We have announced a new form of content, the launch of Ansible validated content. Similar to certified content, Ansible validated content is curated by Red Hat and eventually our partners, so it's more trusted, reliable, and secure than the community content. To clarify the difference, while Red Hat content focuses on platform and system integration, Ansible validated content provides guidance on how to perform operational tasks within Red Hat or partner systems and platform. However, because validated content is customizable by the customer, it's not supported by Red Hat. Initially, with the release later this year, validated content will be preloaded into Private Automation Hub. The collections will be made available in Ansible Automation Hub sometime next year. Thanks to Ansible validated content, you can now get up and running quicker with your automation initiatives. Validated content focuses on turnkey use cases to assist you with adaptive automations for products and solutions. You can now create better, more reliable automation content that is easier to support as you expand your use cases. Automation tooling can provide scaffolding and testing for custom content, or help automatically generate modules for new systems and products if none already exists. So please, now let me recap all the multiple tools and features tailored to the automation team's needs to foster collaboration through the automation lifecycle the Red Hat Automation Platform consists of. The modular cloud-native design ensures consistent execution across platforms. Hosted cloud services extend these core capabilities and offer contextualized insight and metrics to plan and report on your automation performance. Ansible Automation Platform integrates with what you already have and provides certified and pre-created content to reduce operational costs. So with this, thank you very much, and thank you for watching.
Okay, thanks. Thank you very much, Amaya, for a great talk. It's clear that artificial intelligence is having a huge impact in the present in development, and it's very good news that this also comes to the DevOps world with this Ansible Lightspeed. So we need to try that out. Now I'll leave you with Kim. It's going to explain how all this is put into practice with OpenNebula to sustain different AI-related use cases. So Kim, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Amaya and OpenNebula. Thanks for being invited here to the OpenNebulaCon to present how we use Ansible and OpenNebula to better host and facilitate acceleration of AI. And my name is Kim Henriksson. I'm what we call the wizard here at AI Sweden. Basically translates to system architect. And I'm responsible for hosting and running our testbeds and infrastructures for our partners. To give you a little bit of understanding of why we're using OpenNebula and Ansible, I will first present a little bit about what AI Sweden is and why we exist and what we try to do. So approximately 4 years ago, a collaborative association called AI Sweden was formed, and the purpose of AI Sweden is to accelerate the use of AI in Sweden. And we do that for our society, our competitiveness, and for everyone here. And we are a non-profit organization, and our purpose is to work with public sector, private sector, and academia, and together try to accelerate the use of AI. And to frame the picture a bit more, since we're a collaborative organization, we are made up of several partners, from small sector or private sector and small companies to large global tech companies, public sector, and academia. And what we try to do is to get all of this to work together and invest time and effort and share that with each other. So it's pretty similar to the open source mentality, but it's all about accelerating and reducing barriers. And we say that what we try to do is reduce the risks, reduce the barriers for entry, to get started in the right direction as quickly as possible. And if you're heading in the wrong direction, be able to see that for yourselves and change direction, and therefore speeding up the process. And we're not a consultancy powerhouse or something like that. It's more that we allow our partner to utilize AI Sweden as a common collaboration space that is neutral and open for them all. And for sort of hands-on parts of this, when it comes to any AI or machine learning application, you usually need a certain set of resources, data storage, data management, compute, GPU compute, orchestration, and then on top of that you have your MLOps and DevOps and how it works with your organization and your other processes and systems and so on. And figuring out a good way of doing this is not that trivial. Just as Amaya was alluding to earlier, and why Ansible, for instance, steps into this. It's a part of making any large infrastructure work in an efficient manner. And so what we do here in the testbed, and it's a sandbox of sorts, is to facilitate various projects and host various projects from our partners. And as you can see here, it's a variety of companies, organization, and usually it's actually collaborations between companies, usually between different sectors even. An interesting side note here is that automotive, space, and healthcare share a whole lot when it comes to actually doing machine learning and AI from if you aggregate the level. This test bed of ours, where we host these different projects that all have different purposes, is made up of equipment that is both new and old, and from various suppliers. Various suppliers, both from when it comes to larger systems like storage solutions or compute solutions, but also different OEMs for accelerators like NVIDIA, Intel, AMD, and so on. And the testbed's purpose is to be able to provide a ready-made sandbox for our partners, where they can test various ways of doing their projects. And you might imagine then that having a heterogeneous environment that is, in this case, often changing, used for a multitude of purposes, with a multitude of different levels of engagement or perspectives. Let's say some have an end user perspective, some have an operational perspective in their project, becomes quite challenging to host. And so therefore we took the decision to virtualize as much as possible. And for that we're using OpenNebula. And here we actually looked into, to be totally honest, we looked into the competitors first, VMware that would be. And it turns out that OpenNebula has a quite unique mindset, and that we really like. It's open source, open-minded, made for collaboration. It's made to be easy for that type of purpose. But I would say setting up OpenNebula in this type of heterogeneous environment is not really trivial. I see progress all the time, so good work, guys. But therefore we use Ansible. And these are some actual pictures taken the other day, or screenshots. Nothing spectacular, but what we do is that we, when we get a server or a node of some kind, we bring it in to the server room, and we bring it up to a known status, where Amaya will find this a little bit amusing, but we're using Rocky Linux, which is a Red Hat derivative, and get it to known states, and add an Ansible user. And then we use Ansible to bring the host up. Either we set it up to be an OpenNebula controller, or we bring it up to be an OpenNebula host, add data stores, configuration, network configuration, and introduce it to the system. And it's at this point very, very smooth. And for most AI-related projects, you end up requiring some type of GPU usage. So I think actually one of this, yep, you can see it in the middle slide. That's where we're adding GPU pass-through to the virtual machines. And that enables us to both serve GPU virtual machines to our partners, but also, and from my perspective, just sort of trying to host these several different projects, being able to quite quickly and easily repurpose resources. This, of course, goes hand in hand with schedulers, and we have those too for more dedicated systems. But when it comes to setting up a complete system infrastructure and doing system-wide testing, having this type of resources is invaluable. And we will be sharing our Ansible scripts and so on with OpenNebula, and we will hope that it helps to further improve the product, which we really like. And that's all from me. I would say thank you. And if you're curious, head up to myai.se or ai.se. Thank you.
Okay, that was a great presentation, Kim. Thanks very much for presenting in this 10th edition of the OpenNebulaCon and for your kind words. To everyone in the audience, I hope you enjoyed the session, and please remember that you can make questions using the chat. Hope to see you in the next session. Bye-bye. Thanks, Kim and Amaya, for joining us today.
Thanks, Constantino.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye.